Hi, my name is Sophia Memon, and I was tasked by the United Nations with identifying a novel headline indicator to track the quality of life across all UN countries. The indicator I settled upon through my research is measuring the purchasing power of the population across income segments using the Consumer Price Index. Let's get into it. The purchasing power is the number of goods and services that can be purchased with a unit of currency. Incomes from the lowest segment to the highest segment are collected annually to measure the income distribution across the nation's population, and the Consumer Price Index, or CPI, examines the weighted average of prices of a fixed basket of consumer goods and services. It's calculated monthly by taking price changes for each item in the predetermined basket of goods and averaging them, allowing us to measure inflation throughout the year. While these measures are useful individually, they don't provide direct insight into the quality of life of a population. But when we put them together, this ratio can show us how each income segment can afford living in a country over time. Let's look at the income and CPI of a sample country that has experienced positive GDP growth annually. Notice that while everyone's income is increasing, the cost of living is also going up, which is captured in the CPI. What about the distributional effects? Even though the income of both the lowest and highest quartiles increased, the highest quartile's purchasing power increased by 250%, while the lowest quartiles decreased by 20%, a massive increase in the wealth gap. What does this mean for GDP? The GDP accounts for all expenditures on goods and services that cycle through a country's economy, adjusted by the country's trade balance, and it tells us the relative strength of a country's economy based on the magnitude that this number is growing or shrinking by. However, four of its main shortcomings are as follows. 1. It doesn't discriminate between good growth and harmful growth. 2. It's highly subjective in what it includes. For example, when prostitution was included in Italy's GDP, it seemingly grew overnight. 3. It emphasizes quantity over quality. If products increase in quality but not in price or units sold, then it doesn't capture the increased benefit simply because there was no monetary change. And lastly, as shown in the example before, it doesn't capture the distribution of growth and benefits. Although GDP growth has been a cornerstone metric for progress, as we have seen, not all growth is good for everyone. Just because the numbers getting bigger does not mean that the quality of life afforded by everyone is better. The good news is that this gap in the information created by the GDP can be closed by my recommendation for the new UN Quality of Life Indicator to include the purchasing power of the population using income quartiles or quintiles and the CPI. With that, I conclude my pitch. Thank you for listening, and remember, with great purchasing power comes great responsibility.